What's that? D Merciless Ghosty back again. It's time to review this piece of shit. Halloween Ends. Let's talk about it. Starting right off the bat with the suspense. None. Absolutely zero tension and suspense in this movie. To make matters worse, you don't exactly do yourself favors when you make the star of your movie. I know. The star of Jamie Lee Curtis. Everybody, that's why we're here. Bullshit. The star of this movie is the star of these movies will always be Michael Myers, and the fact that they turned him into a complete bitch in this movie. What can I say? It wasn't really written as a horror movie to begin with, but when you make Michael a beat up old man who literally gets his ass kicked like every single time he's on screen, you don't do yourself any favors. So what can I say? I can't really talk too much about the suspense. If I do, it's just going to become a long rant about how you know what? That's exactly what this is going to become. It's exactly what this is going to become. Oh, I've seen the movie twice now. I went to see it on Thursday. I hated it. I watched it again. I gave it a couple days. I watched it again over the weekend. I enjoyed it slightly more. But the thing that I can't get past is how in the final movie, not only of this trilogy, but of the trilogy coming from the original Halloween, I don't understand how you make this your send-off to one of the most iconic characters in horror history, Michael Myers. I really don't understand. I was baffled by what I saw. So the first time we were introduced to him on screen, the new kid Corey gets pushed over like an overpass by these bullies, which I'll talk more about that in the writing. And he kind of just laying on the ground, and we just see him get dragged into the sewer. We don't see by what. He kind of wakes up, comes to. He kind of realizes where he is. He runs around, and boom, he runs into Michael Myers, who grabs him by the throat. And then we have this fucking Space Jam moment where they look into each other's eyes, which is weird in and of itself, and they have this vision of Michael can see that Corey killed somebody, or Corey is somehow that they can that is conveyed psychologically, and Michael just lets him go. That's it. And then we just don't see him for a while. He comes back. We see him again a little later when the new kid is being chased by this cop. I'll get more into that in the writing portion as well. He's getting chased by this cop, and he goes into the basement, the sewer, and leads him to Michael. The cop kicks Michael off him, no problem, and Corey has to save him. And then Corey starts screaming at him, "Get up! Get up! Show me how to do it!" Michael gets up and he kills the cop, and then he starts charging up like Hulk Hogan during a fucking comeback in a 1980s WWE match. It was weird. It was fucking weird. I don't get it. Then again, let's keep in mind that this is the same guy who in the last movie was hurling firefighters up over his head, going through crowds of people like it's nobody's business. All of a sudden, he's stumbling around in the sewers like a washed-up fighter past his prime. I don't understand. It's embarrassing. It was embarrassing. But the next time we see him on screen, really, that I can remember anyway, is we go back. Corey wants his mask. So he goes into the sewer and they start wrestling around. This looks like a skit. I thought I was being trolled. I'm like, there's no way that this is actually the movie. And we get to this part, and he throws Michael Myers on the ground and tells him, "You're just a man in a Halloween mask." And he takes his mask off, and he just runs out of the sewer with the mask like with no problems whatsoever. Then the next time we really see him is, well, no, there is another scene with him where they go to this doctor's house and they end up tag teaming this couple-ish, which I didn't really, that part of the movie wasn't really interesting to me, so I'm not gonna get into it too much. But I'll talk about that part in the kills though. But other than that, then we get the final fight with Jamie Lee, and you saw the whole thing in the trailer. The couple of moments tacked on, and then an ending where Michael dies. They slit his throat. They let him bleed out, and then they strap him to the hood of a car like a fucking wounded deer. This is probably the most screen time he gets in the entire movie. And on the drop of a dime, they can get the entire town to just show up to this one junkyard, to watch him be thrown in a wood chipper, essentially. His body gets grinded up, and that's it. That's how we know he's dead. There's no coming back. Laurie ends up typing something as she's finishing her book, that evil doesn't die, it just changes shape, hinting that there could be something else that comes back. The evil that was in Michael could be transferred to somebody else. Blah. This was bullshit. This is absolute bullshit. So I can't really talk about the suspense too much because really there wasn't any. So the suspense gets a solid F for me. F for fuck you and fuck what you did to Michael Myers. Next up we have the writing, and this is probably the most mixed aspect of the movie for me because there's a good story in here somewhere. So the movie focuses around this kid Corey and his kind of descent into becoming a serial killer. The movie opens, he's babysit a year after the events of Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills. We get a fast forward of a year later, and this kid Corey is babysitting on Halloween, of course. Is babysitting even a thing anymore? Do people still do that? I feel like we're kind of in a day and age where that doesn't really happen too often as it used to in like 70s, 80s, and 90s, but whatever, I digress. Not that important. Anyway, so they're kind of bantering back and forth about Michael Myers, and Michael Myers doesn't kill kids, he only kills babysitters. It was kind of similar to the back and forth that the babysitter and the kid had in the first movie of this trilogy. So we get to it, and this kid, the Corey, gets locked in the attic. This kid pulls a prank on him and locks him in the attic. And what perfect timing this was. So as he's trying to break out, he's like hitting the door, kicking the door, trying to get out. And as soon as the parents come home, the parents walk in the door, he happens to kick the door open at the perfect time. The little kid was standing right behind the door, and the kid just takes a fall like a couple stories, and just because it was like a mansion. It was a nice house with like 5 floors, and the kid just falls and just smack. And that was pretty cool. That I didn't see that coming, so that was a cool moment. And from that moment on, we kind of just get this kid's descent into madness. Basically, he gets bullied by these. This is another problem I had. he gets bullied by this. Now keep in mind, this kid is in his mid-20s. He's pushing his mid-20s. He's like 23, 24 by the time we get the next time jump, which is another 2 years. So he gets bullied by these. He's getting bullied by most of the townspeople, but in particular, there's like a group of bullies. You know, your typical standard movie bullies. Well, I shouldn't say standard because they weren't your typical like high school jocks and whatnot. They were kids in marching band. Now, as someone who, I mean, this kid's in his mid-20s getting bullied by 16 and 17-year-olds. That in of itself, I have a problem buying. But then he somehow could just go beat up Michael Myers whenever he wants to. Fucking stupid. But anyway, I will say another thing that I liked was more likes. Another like the Jamie Lee probably gives her best performance as Laurie Strode in this movie since the first one. It's very, very in line with the first movie. She kind of goes back to living life and kind of that bit of like kind of innocence and the vulnerability is back, I will say, and that was cool to see. She has some cool moments with Allison, her granddaughter, who she's kind of raising now. I guess what they were going for is that she didn't want to make the same mistakes that she made with her daughter. You know, kind of living with her granddaughter now. She didn't want to make the same mistakes of being this trained waiting for Michael to come back 24/7. Okay, once again, it just doesn't work for me in this movie. So you mean to tell me that you spent 40 years getting past the events of what happened in the original Halloween? You spent 40 years preparing for this motherfucker to come back, and then after he slays the entire town, kills your daughter, you just suddenly just move on, like you're just over it. Yeah, I don't buy it. I'm sorry. And I've had people tell me online, well, grief doesn't work like you want it to. Da 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 da. Fuck you. Shut the fuck up. Grief. No human being that I've ever met would act that way. Let alone in movie world. So that was kind of cool. And then we kind of get this love story between this new kid and Allison. He just goes up to her, this random who. That's another thing. Allison, I feel, is a complete missed opportunity in this movie. She's just kind of there. She doesn't really have much to do. She kind of gets shit on by this guy over and over again. Laurie kind of hooks them up, and then tries to get involved. What she sees that he's kind of turning into Michael, and I don't know. It's weird. There's a good story in here somewhere. The kid's descent into madness. I definitely see the Christine vibes that they were talking about. But you introduced these themes in the previous two movies. Certain themes and certain things that you introduced that never got explained and were never explored further. What was the significance of the window in Halloween Kills? What was the significance of that? We heard all about the window, and it ended up amounting to nothing. It was kind of the same thing with this kid's story overall. Overall, his story didn't amount to anything because near the end of the movie, as we're kind of getting into it, Laurie calls and says she's gonna commit suicide, and so she calls 911. She reports that she's committing suicide. And then you hear a gunshot, and you just kind of see splatter all over the ground, and then you see somebody dressed up in the Michael costume. We know it's Corey at this point because he's already taken the mask and killed the bullies and all that. He pushes the door open, and then she's like, You really think I killed myself? She shoots him 2 or 3 times, and then she kind of goes down, and then Laurie's like, you really think Allison was gonna go with you? So on and so on, and then he just kind of, and then Allison like pulls up to the house, and she's like, and Jamie, and then Corey just starts breaking out into laughter, and he's just like, if I can't have her, nobody can, and he just stabs himself in the neck. So, why you introduce this character, why we follow him on this journey for an hour and a half, just for him to stab himself in the neck, and for it to go absolutely nowhere. I mean, he doesn't die in the scene. This is where Michael comes back. Michael comes back, he gets his mask, and then he ends up killing the kid. But still, I don't buy it. So I'm really conflicted on what I want to give this a grade. Well, before I give it a grade, there's other characters that were wasted. Hawkins was wasted. He has a couple of nice speaking scenes, and then I also feel Lindsay, who played a huge role in the last movie, Hawkins too. They both played a huge role in the last movie. Were wasted. They were wasted in this one, and it doesn't really make sense. I'm kind of confused as to why or what they were going for. But overall, there's a good story here somewhere, but it kind of gets lost with so many questions and loose ends that they didn't tie up from the previous 2 movies, that I'm going to have to give the writing. Again, I'm not shitting on the actors, because I think everybody, for the most part, did a great job. But because they didn't tie up previous themes from the last movie, I'm going to have to give the writing overall a D, and I'm honestly probably being generous about that. Next up, we have the kills, and outside of 2 kind of creative ones, nothing here to really write home about. So most of the killing is done by Corey, which is another problem I have with the movie. Michael has 2 kills in the whole movie. So the two creative kills, one Corey goes to the radio station, and he kills the DJ, the radio DJ, cuts off his tongue, and uses the tongue on the vinyl, and then the vinyl starts skipping. So the entire town, like most of the town, whoever's listening to that radio station, can hear the music skipping because this dude's tongue is making it skip. I thought that was pretty cool. And then the other kill in the junkyard, where the Corey blowtorches the kid's face, kind of like a similar effect to what happened in the first one in this trilogy. Other than that, Michael's 2 kills. One of them was a recreation of one of the kills he had in the first movie, which was done way worse, in my opinion, than this one. So I'll give the kills a C. That's about it. And last we have the score, and once again, John Carpenter, his son, and the other dude, I forget. I think it's a friend of his son. I'm not entirely sure though. Doing the score, they did great work as always. It's definitely not a Halloween score, but it was interesting in of itself. There's some cool musical cues in there. The movie starts out with, I forget the name of the song, but starts out with a pretty well-known song. I'm just spacing on the name right now. It's not your typical dun 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 dun. You kind of miss. It's a Halloween movie after all. With some cool new sounds, but overall lacking the Halloween score. I'm gonna give the score a B, and I feel that's probably like the highlight of the movie, which is Sad to say. Overall, though, this movie is like an after sex piss. It just missed everything that I was aiming for. I didn't like it. If I get in the urge to watch a Halloween movie, like, randomly throughout the year, this is not one that I'm going to pop in. For me, so, for those that are new, it has been a while since I've done a movie ranking. My list is Sleep with the Lights On, Popcorn Movie, The Guilty Pleasure, and Dumpster Fire. This movie, in my opinion, is a dumpster fire. I'm giving it an F for a grade. I know that might be a little harsh to some, but to me, it just didn't work. That's all I got to say about. Well, not all I got to say. Before I end it, this is kind of the last point I want to make. I'm confused as to who this movie was even supposed to appeal to. The people that are coming for Michael Myers are going to be bored as hell by the Twilight-ish love story between Corey and Allison, and the people that are actually into that are not going to like it when Michael shows up. This movie appeals to some people. Some people like it. I've seen people that really like it. But for me, this movie sucks.